It started with a note in a backpack. It ended with 3 bodies in a living room. And somewhere in between, a child saw everything. Welcome to True Crime's altar, where every sin is punished, every betrayal has a cost, and every soul must answer to the truth. Like, comment, and subscribe, because someone meant for this story to be found. She was always careful with her steps. Careful not to overstep, just to blur. Cardigans, dimples, little handwritten notes on homework. She understood how to become unforgettable without raising suspicion. The children called her Miss Dorsey. The staff called her dependable. The parents, especially the tired ones, called her at night for support. But Zora Dorsey wasn't interested in helping families. She was studying them. And once she found a weak one, she moved in like a breeze through a cracked window, silent, steady, and impossible to push back out. She met Randall Borrell at a school fundraiser in East Pines, Louisiana. He wasn't flashy, but that was never her type. She liked the steady ones. The fathers who stayed late to help clean up, who wore pressed jeans and knew the names of their kids' friends. Randall had a presence, warm but distracted. His wife, Callista, always looked a step behind. His daughter, Journey, clung to her like a second shadow. Zora saw what she needed in 5 minutes: a busy household, an overlooked husband, and a child who trusted too easily. She didn't flirt. She didn't even linger. She waited. By the time her number ended up in Randall's phone, it came from Callista herself. If Journey ever needs extra reading help, Miss Dorsey's amazing. And just like that, the invitation was signed. Zora kept her tone professional, her text short, until Randall replied late one evening with a thank you that lingered too long. She let that sit, then sent a smiley face the next week. He responded with one back. She waited again. The next message was a link to a kid's reading app. But the one after that? That was personal. Do you ever get tired of always being the one people lean on? That's when she knew she had him. And some women are patient enough to wait until you open it yourself. That's not love. That's infiltration. She didn't force her way in. She let him offer her a key, and once she had it, she started rearranging the furniture. Zora had done this before, but not like this, not with someone who made her believe it could be permanent. Randall told her it had to stop more than once. He said it in whispers, in guilt-tipped texts, in moments where Callista's scent still clung to his skin. But Zora never panicked. She pivoted. She spoke about Journey's growth, about classroom milestones, about the way Randall smiled when he talked about fatherhood. She used their daughter like a bridge she knew Callista would never think to check. When Randall pulled away, she left him a reminder, not in his phone, not in his email, but folded softly into a child's backpack. One message, meant for him, disguised as something sweet. But it wasn't sweet. It was nuclear. And once Callista read it, she didn't yell. She didn't cry. She didn't even blink. She read it once, then folded it carefully and slid it into her hoodie pocket like a blade. That was a Thursday afternoon, 5:06 p.m., the week before Thanksgiving, the last normal day they would ever know. Journey had just stepped off the school bus, her neon green sneakers flashing as she ran up the walkway. Her mother was in the kitchen using Randall's phone to add eggs to their Instacart order. Her own phone was dead, again. When the message came through, check Journey's bag. You'll love what's inside. Callista thought it was a joke, but the tone chilled her. Playful, familiar, like a secret shared between strangers who should never have met. She looked at her daughter, then at the pink, sparkly backpack lying by the couch. It seemed louder now, like it was humming. She walked over, unzipped the front pocket, and pulled out a folded sheet of paper. One line in blue ink, 2 sentences, simple, devastating. She read it in complete silence, then slid it away. When Randall walked in 20 minutes later, she kissed his cheek. Dinner was ready by 6. Journey, said Grace. Randall passed the peas. No one mentioned the note. Not that night. But in 3 days, none of them would be breathing. Some weapons don't kill on contact. They take time, crawling under the skin before they strike the heart. The next morning, Callista rose early. She didn't stare at the ceiling. She didn't cry in the shower. She made pancakes, braided Journey's hair, and packed her a turkey sandwich with extra mayo, just how she liked it. But something in her had already ruptured. Not snapped, just turned. And once that turn happens, there's no going back. She returned Randall's phone where he left it. Said nothing. Not that day. Not the next. But on Saturday, while vacuuming beneath their bed, something knocked loose. A soft clunk inside an old sunglasses case wedged behind a box labeled Winter Hats. When she opened it, a black Samsung Galaxy lit up like a guilty heart. No SIM card, no passcode, but not empty, not completely. It had been wiped, but Callista knew what to look for: fragments, ghosted apps, autosaves. She opened a folder labeled Art Projects and found pictures of Journey at her desk. One in particular made her stomach flip. The caption read, "She reminds me of you when you're focused." It hadn't been sent to her. It had been sent to Randall. And it wasn't the only one. More followed. Innocent. Then suggestive. Then one so clear they didn't need translation. Then came the audio clips. 3 seconds. 5 seconds. Whispers in the kind of voice no teacher should ever use. One clip auto-played as she scrolled. "You owe me more than time. You owe me what we created." Callista stopped breathing. What we created? The words circled her brain like sirens. Was it metaphor? Was Zora implying a child? Had she ever said she was pregnant?
If you're enjoying this story, kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. It is free and won't cost anything, but it means the world to us. We're just a small channel trying to grow. Thank you, and back to the video.
Callista dug deeper, pulled up cached location pings from the Google account still tied to the device. A clinic in North Monroe 6 months ago. A Walgreens 2 days later. Maybe a test. Maybe something more. She couldn't know. But she knew this. Zora Dorsey hadn't just seduced Randall. She had infiltrated their lives and used Journey as her way in. Some betrayals are not about desire. They're about control. And Zora had it. All of it. The husband. The daughter. The silence. Callista copied the phone's contents to 3 flash drives. She didn't tell Randall what she'd found. She made baked chicken, laughed at Journey's knock-knock joke, sat beside her husband while he watched a documentary about black inventors. But she was gone. Her body stayed. Her heart had fled. And she was not coming back. Sunday evening in East Pines came with the smell of grilled ribs drifting through neighborhood fences and the hum of porch radios playing gospel slow and low. Inside the Borrell household, everything looked perfect. The table was set for 6. The air was warm from the oven. And Callista was dressed like she used to be back when Randall first fell in love. Gray sweater dress, gold hoops, perfume she hadn't worn in 2 years. Journey sat on the couch, scrolling through cartoons, her mood quiet, her eyes even quieter. Randall's older brother, Simeon, and his wife, Rochelle, arrived just before 6:40 p.m. with a bottle of sparkling juice and a sweet potato pie still warm from the bakery. Callista greeted them with a tight smile. No hug, no fuss. She took their coats and disappeared into the kitchen. Randall poured drinks. Rochelle commented on how lovely everything smelled. Simeon made a joke about the Saints blowing another lead. Callista smiled politely, nodded once, and sat down. The food was passed. Plates filled. And just as everyone started eating, she spoke. Her tone wasn't sharp. It was casual. Too casual. "Let me ask y'all something," she said, eyes still on her collard greens. "How long would you let someone sleep with your husband before you shoot them?" Utensils paused midair. Simeon looked at his brother. Rochelle glanced at Journey, who had already gone stiff. Randall's face emptied. No one moved. "I'm serious," Callista went on, voice soft as cloth. "A week? A month? At what point does it stop being disrespect and start being self-defense?" No one spoke. Randall finally tried, his fork still in hand. Callista, come on now. This ain't funny? She cut in, eyes now lifted. You thought I was joking? Her voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. There was venom in the stillness. Her name's Zora Dorsey, your daughter's reading teacher. She's very sweet, has good posture, writes in cursive like it's the 1950s, and apparently likes to pass love notes through 9-year-olds. Rochelle gasped. Simeon sat back, jaw slack. Randall still hadn't moved. Callista didn't even look at him. The school adores her. The kids love her. And this man right here? She motioned without turning. Thought he could outsmart me. Second phone, hidden app, voice memos of her whispering promises and talking about something y'all created. Randall inhaled sharply, but Callista kept going. Either she was lying, or she meant a child. And either way, I've been sitting on it, smiling, making mashed potatoes, watching my baby girl be used like a middleman for people who think respect is optional. Journey pushed her chair back. The scrape echoed. She ran upstairs. Rochelle half rose, unsure if she should follow. Callista shook her head. She's fine. The only one in this house who didn't lie. Simeon cleared his throat. Callie, maybe we don't tell me about timing, she said flatly. There's never a right moment to find out the man you built a life with has been entertaining a woman who left whispers in your child's backpack. Randall had started to sweat, hands under the table. Callista stood up slowly, wiped her mouth with her napkin, and said, Y'all enjoy dessert. I need air. Then she walked out. No screaming. No slamming. Just the kind of silence that comes before thunder. A silence that lets you know something irreversible has already started. When Journey spoke to her aunt the following night, it wasn't in panic. It was in confusion. Callista had asked her sister, Nadine, to keep Journey overnight. No reason given, just, I need to think. Nadine didn't ask questions. But later that evening, as they brushed teeth and picked pajamas, Journey sat on the edge of the bed and asked, Auntie, can somebody get in trouble for sitting on someone's lap if they're not married? Nadine blinked. What do you mean, baby? Like, if it's supposed to be a secret. There was a pause. One of those pauses that feels too heavy to be accidental. Did that happen at school? Nadine asked gently. Journey shook her head. No, not school. In the garage. I was looking for my iPad. It was in Daddy's car. But when I opened the door, she was sitting on him. Miss Dorsey. It was before the summer. They weren't kissing or nothing, but it looked weird. She didn't say it with hurt, just with the quiet confusion of a child who hadn't learned what should be feared yet. Nadine didn't press. She rubbed Journey's back and told her to rest. Then she stepped into the hallway and called her sister. She saw them, in the car. She saw it with her own eyes. Callista didn't reply, but something inside her detonated. The betrayal wasn't just romantic anymore. It wasn't about shame or vengeance. It was about her child. Her daughter had been dragged into an affair she didn't understand. No one had protected her. Not Randall, not the teacher, and not Callista, until now. That night, Callista sat in the living room, staring up at the framed family photo they'd taken 2 Christmases ago. Matching pajamas, hot chocolate mugs, all 3 of them smiling like nothing could ever reach them. She remembered Journey asking if they could hang it in the living room. So everybody knows we're a team. Callista closed her eyes. This wasn't a team. It was a battlefield, and her daughter had been walking through it barefoot. Breaking points don't always come like glass shattering. Sometimes they build like pressure behind drywall. Slow, silent, devastating. That Sunday, rain swept across East Pines like a curtain. The streets were empty. Inside, Randall sat watching a football game he wasn't really following. Journey was in her room with earbuds, coloring. Callista sat in the bedroom, holding the second phone in one hand and the printed note in the other. When she came downstairs, she didn't say a word, just stood there. Randall looked up. Hey, you good? She didn't blink. What did she mean when she said you owe her what y'all created? Randall's face twisted. The TV played on in the background. What? Zora. She said you owe her for what you created. Was it just the affair? Or was she pregnant? He stood, grabbed the remote, muted the game. Callista, you're not thinking straight. Wrong words. I'm not thinking straight, she said, her voice sharp now. You turned our daughter's book bag into a drop-off box and you're worried about my clarity? Randall moved toward her. I messed up. I know. Let's talk like parents. Don't you dare, she hissed. You let her sit on your lap. In the garage. In the car our daughter rides in. His eyes went wide. How do you know about that? And that was the moment the truth stood naked. She turned, walked to the hallway closet, unlocked the drawer, pulled out the handgun he didn't know she'd found. She didn't wave it. She held it low, steady, trembling, but deadly. Get out. Now. No one saw her until she was between them, screaming, Stop! Stop yelling! And then it happened. No one knows if Randall reached for her or for the gun. No one remembers who moved first. But one shot rang out, loud and final. Journey dropped. Her legs buckled before her voice could. Callista froze. Randall screamed. Blood soaked through the child's dress before she hit the ground. Randall fell to his knees, trying to stop it. Stay with me, baby. Please stay with me. His hands were slick, his voice broken. The phone clattered from his fingers as he tried to dial with shaking, blood-covered hands. Callista still held the gun. Her ears weren't ringing from the gunfire. They were ringing from the reality. Her child was on the floor, dying, and it was her hand that had ended it. In that moment, something inside her gave way completely. She raised the weapon again. Randall looked up in horror. Callista, no. The second shot hit him in the chest. He collapsed over Journey, like he was trying to shield her too late. The two of them lay still, silent. The living room held its breath. Callista stood over them for 6 seconds, her hands trembling, her lips parted. Maybe she was trying to say something. Maybe a prayer. Maybe her child's name. But nothing came out. She raised the gun one last time and fired. The neighbors heard the shots but didn't wait to investigate. Mr. Latham, a retired sheriff's deputy 2 doors down, was the first to run over. He banged on the door with the side of his fist, yelling for someone to answer. But the house was quiet. Too quiet. Through the window, the glow of a television flickered against the hardwood floor like nothing was wrong. The police arrived in under 8 minutes. The smell of gunpowder still lingered. The responding officers stepped inside, stopped cold in the entryway, and radioed for backup. 3 bodies, 1 family, all in the same room. Randall's arms were wrapped around Journey like he could still protect her. Her eyes were open, but empty. Blood soaked the hem of her dress and pooled beneath her curls. Randall's shirt was dark and wet at the chest. His body collapsed over hers. Callista lay near the staircase, one hand open, the other near the pistol. Her face was frozen mid-expression, as if she died still trying to make sense of what she'd done. Nothing was shattered. No signs of a struggle. Just stillness and silence. One of the officers noticed the child's backpack by the couch. It was partially unzipped, a corner of folded paper peeking out like it had been planted. He picked it up with gloved hands. The paper wasn't torn or crumpled. It had been placed there with care. In neat handwriting, written in blue ink, were the words, "I still remember the first time we kissed in your car." The rest of the message was redacted from the final report. It didn't need to be included. The story had already been told in blood, in silence, in everything the house refused to hide. When the local news broke the story the next morning, East Pines reeled. A family gone. A teacher's name whispered through every hallway, though not yet officially released. But the authorities knew. The fragments of phone data, the note, the digital trail she'd tried to erase, all of it pointed back to one person, Zora Dorsey. But when detectives knocked on her door 4 days later, she didn't seem surprised. She wore a navy sweatshirt and sweatpants. Her hair was in a loose puff, and her smile was small but composed. When they asked when she'd last spoken to Randall Borrell, she tilted her head slightly. "It's been a long time," she said. "He became obsessed. I tried to distance myself." The detectives didn't flinch. One opened a file. "Do you recognize this message?" She looked down, blinked. "No, I don't know anything about that." "Did you have any personal connection to the Barrow family?" Her pause was just long enough to make them write it down. "We talked. For Journey." That was the extent of it. But the second phone, now logged into evidence, told a different story. Screenshots, audio clips, GPS location histories, voicemails where her voice was unmistakable. A few messages were traced to a cloud folder linked to an inactive email account in her name. One of the photos recovered showed her standing just outside the Burrell's garage, time-stamped 3 days before Callista found the note. Still, the law is a cage with gaps. Zora never made a direct threat. She never confessed. She never stepped inside the Burrell home. Her messages, though emotionally manipulative, weren't criminally coercive. And the note left in Journey's backpack, though wildly inappropriate, wasn't enough to charge her with any crime. Morally, she'd played with fire. But legally, she hadn't held the match. The district attorney passed on prosecution. The case was closed as a domestic tragedy. No further charges. But the school board didn't need legal proof. The following Friday, Zora was summoned to the superintendent's office. The conversation was brief. She was given the opportunity to resign. The official statement cited community trust concerns and disruptions to the learning environment. She signed without protest. No press conference, no apology, and no goodbye. The following Monday, her apartment was cleared out. The landlord said a moving truck came in the night. No logo, no noise, no witnesses, just gone. Disappeared the way smoke does, without apology or explanation. Some say she moved to Jackson. Others swear they saw her in Memphis using a different name. But the theories got darker over time. That maybe she faked a pregnancy to manipulate Randall. That maybe she thought Callista would walk away, leaving her a space to step into. That she wanted the child, not to harm, but to possess. That Journey was part of her plan. And when it failed, she lit the match and stepped back. A manipulation that metastasized into murder. Not directly, but undeniably. There's no proof, no confession, no arrest. Just shadows and speculation. Just 3 graves in East Pines Memorial Cemetery with no visitors and no answers. Just a closed case and a community that still flinches when someone mentions backpacks or second phones. Zora Dorsey became what the town feared most, the kind of woman who doesn't vanish in shame, but in victory. She left behind no fingerprints, only devastation. And the final question, asked quietly in grocery store aisles, in beauty salons, on church steps, wasn't "Did she kill them?" It was worse. It was, "Did she win?" The Burrell home was emptied within 2 weeks. The property was sold below value to a couple from Baton Rouge who repainted the walls and tore out the hardwood. The new owners said the house felt cold for a long time, like something had been frozen there and never thawed. The school removed Zora Dorsey's photo from the website. Her name was scrubbed from the staff directory. A new teacher was hired before winter break. The children were told nothing. Only the adults whispered in corners and passed side eyes at pickup time. The news outlets dropped the story after Christmas. It didn't have a trial to follow. No courtroom updates. Just a family gone and a woman who vanished like she'd never been real to begin with. But East Pines never forgot. The church deacon at First Light Baptist brought up the tragedy during a Sunday sermon. "The enemy does not always knock," he said. "Sometimes she walks in smiling and leaves the door wide open behind her." The crowd went silent. Some nodded. Some wept. In private, even those closest to the Borel struggled to explain what had happened. How a teacher, a trusted figure, could become the fault line beneath a household. How a man like Randall, who once stayed late to fix broken faucets at his daughter's school, could fall so far. How a mother like Callista, so composed, so devoted, could unravel into something irreversible. The explanations were too easy, too simple, and none of them made sense when a child was caught in the middle. That's what lingered the longest. Journée, her innocence, her smile, her trust, and the way she died, not understanding the cost of the secrets being passed above her head. Some tragedies don't echo. They suffocate, quiet, unyielding, and final. What no one wants to admit is this: the note wasn't the beginning. It was the end. The weapon had already been loaded long before the words were written. And once a seed is planted in the dark, it grows until it breaks the foundation. Evil doesn't always come with a threat. Sometimes it comes with a compliment, a helping hand, a smile that holds its shape too long. And when love becomes a tool of manipulation, the home becomes a theater for destruction. Reflect on this: when betrayal sits in silence, it sharpens itself. When pain is buried, it festers. And when we let rage speak louder than reason, it does not stop at one. It consumes all. So if you ever find yourself in a situation that's breaking you emotionally, mentally, spiritually, step away. Step out. Speak up. Go to someone you trust. A counselor, a pastor, a law enforcement officer. Let your pain be known before it becomes a weapon in your hands. Because there is always another way. One that doesn't end with a note in a backpack. One that doesn't leave a child on the floor. One that doesn't leave questions instead of survivors. Show love. Choose peace. And when it gets too heavy to carry, let someone help you put it down. This was True Crime's Altar, where every sin is punished. Every betrayal has a cost, and every soul must answer to the truth. Let us know what you think in the comments. Where are you watching from? Did justice find its way in this story, or did it slip through the cracks? Like, share, and subscribe. Because these are the stories the guilty hoped would stay buried. But you just unearthed one.